dead, the course of Henry's life was changed overnight. No longer destined for the church, Operation King Henry began. Until now, he and I had enjoyed a relatively carefree childhood. I recall suddenly life became very serious for him. He grew up quickly, and I soon felt quite abandoned. And then another bombshell, my sister Margaret was to be married. They had been in talks and treaties with the Scots to bring an end to the constant skirmishes and battles along the borders, and finally a treaty was sealed that would bring peace to the two nations. My sister Margaret formed part of that deal. She had been betrothed to King James IV. She was furious, and I was scared. The thought of leaving the safety and security of our family for the frozen north was unthinkable. What was it like in Scotland? Did they even speak English? What were the people like? They ate haggis. Would they ever accept an English girl on the throne? My sister was 12. What did she know about being Queen of the North? Weirdly, she married someone else standing in for the bridegroom, and my sister wasn't exactly the blushing bride, and there was no cake. Winter 1502, finally some good news. I was to have a new brother. I saw little of Mother. She'd been whisked away by her ladies to spend the winter locked away in her rooms. They said that she was lying in. I didn't know what that meant at the time, and I thought it must be scary. I was right. She never emerged. A little sister, they said. She lived but a few days before taking Mother with her on her 37th birthday. Father was inconsolable, becoming quite ill. I feared I would lose him too. As ever, my lady grandmother made sure he wanted for nothing. She lavished us all with love and attention. She had been such a constant, comforting presence in our lives. It was her who kept the Tudor ship on course. Henry was not ready to become king, so this had shaken him quite badly. But life continued for the rest of us, and England would not rule itself. After a delay insisted on by our lady grandmother, Margaret eventually left to journey north and her new life as Queen of the Scots. We would never see one another again. Life for me went on at a pace. Growing up within the gilded cage that was the Tudor court, I was often called upon to entertain visiting dignitaries, being quite the proficient musician on the clavichord and the lute. I was 11, yet considered one of the most beautiful and eligible princesses in Europe. Erasmus wrote, "Nature never formed anything more beautiful." That was nice of him, don't you think? I recall the day that Philip I of Castile arrived at court. As usual, I was called to entertain our royal guest and his entourage. Looking back, I believe it was akin to a horse sale, paraded in front of my potential father-in-law. Before you could say political alliance, I was betrothed to his son Charles, the future Holy Roman Emperor. Leave England? Don't I get a say? I saw how homesick for her homeland my sister-in-law Catherine was, but then she had not been treated well since my brother had died. I remember being confused. Why didn't she just go home? Through my adult eyes, it became obvious. Father had not wanted to lose the benefit of her dowry. 1509 was to be another like 1502 and 3. Father died that spring. My brother, barely a man, was King of England, Henry VIII of that name. But, oh, joy of joys, he and our sister-in-law Catherine were wed. Such a celebration like none before. Pageantry, dancing, feasting. She had never looked happier nor more beautiful. My brother looked pleased with himself too. It was obvious that the two were very much in love. It was a perfect match. And later that month, we celebrated my brother's 18th year. June had been a month that was filled with exciting preparations and celebrations and joy, but our happiness would soon be snatched from us. Our dear lady grandmother took to our bed, feeling fatigued from the festivities, and she died the following day. She, who had never left our side, who had been a constant and guiding presence our entire lives, she left a hole that none could or would fill. She had, against all the odds, reached a good age, seen her son lift the English crown and rule magnificently. She'd seen England enjoy an extended period of peace, stability, and success. She died knowing that her dynasty was safe in the hands of the next generation. I hope that gave her comfort and satisfaction. And a king needs to flex his monarchic muscles, and so in 1513 Henry invaded France. The Scots saw this as the ideal time to invade England, and my sister-in-law successfully kept them at bay. But during the Battle of Flodden Field, our brother-in-law James was killed. I hoped that my sister was safe. Political negotiations are complex, but what joy! I was ecstatic when Henry quashed my betrothal to Charles. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. We were now friends with the French, so a new deal was struck. I was to marry the grandfather King Louis. He was 52. I was beyond furious at my brother. But he said that Louis was so old that he'd be dead within a year, so I made him promise if I did this, I would marry whomsoever I wished next time. He already had an inkling of where my heart lay. My heart and my head had made a choice.